Hello, English C1000 online class. This is week 7, and so this that I'm producing now is the weekly video overview. Don't know how long it'll take this week. Might be quick or not so quick, but I'll just start so. This was still in week 6 last week, so make sure you've done it. Any earlier work as well, but especially from week 6, make sure you've done analysis paper number 3, the draft of essay number 2, and DLA number 5 on making a works cited list, and subjects and verbs practice, um, and the writing center report for weeks 5 and 6. So try to be sure you've done all that. And we're going to go then on to week 7, and I will go through each of the pages, starting with the introduction page. So this is something like I just mentioned. The most important thing, however, in week 7 may be the research deadline number 1. So I'll pay a lot of attention to that when we get there. As I just said, catch up on all work from Module 6 and before that. If you have not submitted the draft for essay number 2, please do so and then post it to the discussion board. And so now you're ready to work on the final revision, and the final draft of essay number 2 assignment is in Module 7 here. There is a new practice just on commas and apostrophes, common punctuation. So I'll show you that. And just a midterm is next week. The midterm is just a writing test. Um, it'll be a time test, that you'll have to do. Well, I won't be able to make you do it, but I'll give you like the idea is you would do it in 2 hours. It'll probably be open all week, but I want you to do it in 2 hours, submit it, and get graded. Well, that'll be next week, but I just want you to be aware. This is the essay number 2 discussion board. Many of you have already pasted your paper to it. Make sure that you also do all of the comments on other students' papers that you're supposed to. Try to be helpful, give them good advice. And you get full credit for this assignment if you post your draft to it and you make comments on 3 other students' papers. So try to do that if you haven't yet. Then this is the final exam. I mean, not the final exam, the final draft assignment for essay number 2. So you should have done the draft and gotten credit for it, and you should have gotten all my feedback and comments, and then also comments from other students. And so now you revise the draft, doing the best you can, and submit the final draft here. Once again, though, you can review, the assignment, make sure you're on the right track, comparing and contrasting the 2 readings that you did for analysis paper number 1 and number 2. Read all these directions and be aware of the grading criteria here, and try to submit your draft. I think the deadline for it is next week, October 16th. But if you can do it this week, that's good. You do it next week, that's good also. The sooner the better, but it won't necessarily even be marked late after October 16th. But try to get it done before that for sure. Okay. This page is a overview of Academic Search Complete database. You can read this, the videos from an earlier class. It should still be helpful, though, in showing how to um, focus in on an issue and get the sources you want and to read them and save them and so on. So Academic Search Complete is the database I want you primarily using for finding all your research sources. So watch the video about it. Then also, this is just some additional information, how to get there and how to search. So this are, when you watch the video, you'll see this, but these are your search boxes. You type your main subject here, and you type some limiting words here and here. An example, if your main search was global warming, you might add the word glaciers. The idea is that you want to narrow your results down so you get relevant sources, but not so many that you have to look for them to determine that they're relevant. You get you want to narrow the number down and then start narrow it down by focusing in on what your actual area is, and then choosing from among those. There's a box. Oh, I should say, the way Academic Search Complete looks, part of it has changed. So I don't know if this still says full text and peer reviewed, but you do want to choose full text. I think that's the default, but you don't want to get lists of sources that you can't really read. For the search results, you get a list like this, and you pick the ones that you think might be useful. Then you look at them more and so on. You want to save it and be able to go back to it easily. Here's an example of one source. I said also you want full text. Sometimes you can choose HTML or PDF. If you choose PDF, you get it. It looks like how it appeared in a journal or wherever it was from. If you get HTML, it's just the text, and you can make it bigger or smaller. But the relevant page numbers might exist with PDF, but they won't exist with HTML. There's the toolbar. It may be different in the current than this, but you want to know that you can save it to different drives, you can print it, but also you want to be able to cite it. So if you click this icon, the cite, I think in the version it is now, it's like quotation marks and at the top rather than the side. But you click on it and it gives you the correct citation. I want you to know how to make the citation by knowing all of the core elements, like from the MLA practice tutorial papers. But if you can get the citation from the database, that's good. I still want you to check it. And finally, on this page, this is another overview of Academic Search Complete. It's from a different college, but it would still be generally the same. So this might be helpful too. So I hope there are, and I will go on. This is, as I said earlier, perhaps a main item in week 7, not the preliminary, research deadline number 1, for which you post the preliminary thesis statement and a list of at least 10 new sources that you might use for your research essay. So like a few weeks ago, there was the finding research sources assignment, And the purpose of that was that you would start gathering a list of sources, articles from Academic Search Complete that you might use for your research paper. So this is to check that you've done that. So a list, and the thesis statement should be addressing the specific issue from the research paper assignment that you're writing about. So, for example, if you're writing about abortion, one of the specific examples would be, what should the U.S. abortion policy be? But for each of the broad areas, there are some specific topics or questions. Your thesis statement should be a preliminary answer to that. So these are preliminary, meaning that you're starting with them, but they're also a major step. In other words, doing a good job here is a really big step in writing your research paper. I hope all the links work. I'm not going to really try it. I'll try the library link. No, I'm gonna have to fix that, darn it. But anyway, it's easy for you to find uh, the RCC library, I'm sure. And I hope this is not a link either. Got to remove that. But you should get the practice templates. They were in uh, DLA number 5, so you should be able to find them easily. I will try to fix things if they don't work. Probably I'll just remove the links. Because like I said, you should be able to find the library homepage and the MLA template. But going ahead, this is DLA number 6. It's more practice with run-ons and fragments, not comma splices, just run-ons and fragments. And so what to do with this, get it checked in the writing center when you've done it. Click on these links. I'm pretty sure they work. They go to the Purdue OWL and talk to you about sentence fragments and run-on sentences, comma splices, and fused sentences. So look them over, read it, get an idea. If you did the sentence structure practice, probably that helps a lot. Then answer these questions. The answers to them are on the Purdue OWL. And then the practice is just to correct this little 3-paragraph composition about the Beatles. After each paragraph, it tells you to look for fragments and run-ons, and then you correct them. So in the first paragraph, there are 3 fragments and 1 run-on. In the second, 4 fragments and 1 run-on, etc. So the idea is just finding them and correcting them. People have a lot of trouble with the first paragraph, but do the best you can. And get it checked in the Writing Center. If you have, it's still problems with the Writing Center. If you try to get it checked in the Writing Center, you really do, and have to wait too long or get bumped off the Cranium Cafe too many times, anything like that, let me know and I will just check this for you and give you credit that way. But I want you to keep trying with the Writing Center because it's a main part of the class. Okay. This practice is called quotation sandwich. Um, it's worth 10 points too. The idea of it is that you should quote from your sources. Um, one thing about artificial intelligence is it doesn't do quoting very well, I don't think. So it's one way I can be sure that you're not, at least try to be sure that you're not using artificial intelligence too much or at all. Um, but that's not the main reason to quote. The main reason to quote is to give authority to your writing, to make the links between the sources and your mind very clear to the reader, and also to get across the point that the writers were saying with their own words. So quoting is important, but this idea of a quotation sandwich can help a reader because sometimes when people aren't used to writing from sources, they just put quotations in kind of randomly or without any kind of framework. And so the quotation sandwich is the idea that you set up a quotation, uh, that it's like what comes before the quotation is the top piece of bread and a sandwich. The quotation itself is the middle of the sandwich, the meat or cheese or whatever you like on your sandwich. And after the quotation is the bottom piece of bread, um, which is just kind of explanation and going back to your writing. So this is practice with that. The idea is read it all through, see the examples, then just follow the directions. Um, it's like identifying, like these things, the topics and supporting claim, textual evidence, and commentary, identifying them in these paragraphs, and then sandwich in a quotation yourself. Try to make it so, like from one of your research sources, how you would use it in an essay or analysis paper, how you would have something, the topic sentence, then something leading into the quotation, then the quotation, and then a transition back to what more you're going to say. I hope you get all the idea of that by looking through this and reading it, submitting it. You don't need to go to the writing center for it, but they will give you help if you do. And the last thing in Module 7 is a new practice on commas and apostrophes. Um, Once again, read things in the Purdue Owl about apostrophes and then correct apostrophes in this little composition about the true story of Superman. Um, mostly you're going to be adding apostrophes, like in the word don't and in the word wasn't, but also you're going to be correcting, like taking out apostrophes, just a couple. Like this is one. People's spirits. People's should have an apostrophe, but spirits shouldn't. Uh, you don't put apostrophes on plural nouns ever, pretty much. But so apostrophes are for what you can read about when you look at the Purdue Owl, mostly for possession, like like Superman's first home. Superman's would have an apostrophe s because it's possession of the home, or for contractions like don't is a contraction of do not, so the apostrophe goes where the letter is taken out. To make it easy for you, I put the number of errors you're looking for in each paragraph, one in that paragraph, 7 there, 3 there, and 3 there. So that's the easier part, though neither part's really hard, but there's a lot more complicated rules and details about using commas. Um, so the idea again, read the Purdue Owl. You can see there's lots of rules for commas. And each rule has examples and explanations and so on. So that should give you a lot of help. But what you're going to try to do is go through this little essay about the 1939 Academy Awards, adding commas and semicolons. Only in the first paragraph do you add semicolons. You add 7 commas and 2 semicolons. Um, February, comma, 29, comma, no, February 29, comma, 1940, comma, in Los Angeles, comma, California. That's how you do it. Furthermore, comma, today, comma, okay, semicolon. 1939 was an exceptional year for movies. Semicolon. In fact, comma, film critics have labeled it the greatest year in film history. So, like I said, in the first paragraph, there are two places where you use semicolons. The rest of it, all you do is add commas where they go. Okay. And at the end of each paragraph, it lists how many commas you want to add. If there's any commas you find, leave them alone. It's not a question of taking out commas, just adding them where they go. And so some of them have a lot, like 12. So altogether, this adds up to something like 60 some, I think, commas that you're adding. Um, for part 3, go back to the Purdue Owl, explain the two main rules of using commas. I just told you them. Use it for possession, like Bobby's bicycle, with an apostrophe S in Bobby's, and she can't swim, CAN apostrophe T, a contraction for cannot. So those are the main rules, and you can write a couple of sentences for them, and then go back to the comma rules and find 5 of them. For each rule, write a sentence to illustrate the rule, to be an example or model. And when you've done that, you'd be finished with module 7, and I'm going to be finished now. So I'm going to stop the screen share and say goodbye to you all. Thank you much.